Hello everyone, my name is Ira Fay, and I am a game developer working with Eric's Curiosa on Sorcery Contested Realm. And I am very excited to show you this draft video. On October 21st, 2023, at Unison Games Cafe in Hamden, Connecticut, we ran an alpha draft. So these are alpha cards, and it was super fun. So we had 16 people, and I'm just going to talk about my draft picks. You'll see my picks, and we'll go through it. So just jumping right in, you'll see that I took Border Militia there. It's a nice Earth card. You can often get you pretty easily 3 power, often 4, sometimes even 5 power. So I'm happy to stick with that. And you can see I was excited to be in Earth, but you can see in this pack there's literally 0 Earth cards. So I'm already slightly worried that my neighbors are also drafting Earth. So I took, it looks like I took Sandworm, but now I'm thinking, oh, maybe Clamor Harpy. So I will say this is slightly bad etiquette. I remember that I ended up swapping this. So once you put the card down on your pack, you should not actually pick it back up again and trade it. But this was a very chill, very relaxed draft, and there were a lot of people who were new to the game and asking questions. So it was a very relaxed environment. But beware, do not generally do that. And I'm happy to have an airborne unit that has a reasonably good Genesis ability. So we can see here, Skirmishers of Mu. I mean, there are a lot of good picks here. I also saw, I mean, there's Grapple Shot in there. There was Scourge Zombies, which can be powerful in a limited format because there are often plenty of mortals around. But Skirmishers of Mu are incredibly powerful because they can move, do a range strike, and attack all in a single action. So I have some nice choices here. I see a Plumed Pegasus. I also see Amazon Warriors. These are probably the cards that jump out at me most. So Amazon Warriors, I mean, I love that card. That's just such a great card. 5 power, and look at, like, they're just real warriors. I mean, they're great. So, all right. So far I have two Earth cards, 1 fire, 1 air, and I have double threshold in air. So it's generally okay to go 3 element, but if you do, you have to be careful about double threshold cards. So I had to take Skirmishers of Mu because it's so great, but maybe I'm going to end up being only 2 element, or I don't know, I might risk 3 element for Skirmishers of Mu, but we'll see what I end up getting. So between Cave Trolls, I mean, I like Firebolts also, but in general, in a limited format, you're going to want more minions than magic. So I like getting the Cave Trolls over Firebolts at this point in the draft. So 6th pick, Violent. Wow. So I'm a little surprised. I think Violent is a pretty powerful card in limited play. It can often trade very profitably with it can just take out a 2 power unit, but then because you're often playing deserts, you can sometimes get a 3 power unit. You play your Violent, and then you also play your desert. So a lot of effectiveness with that. And seeing Common Sense come around this late is a little surprising too. So I'm feeling a little better about the Earth, seeing Cave Trolls, Amazon Warriors, Common Sense. So maybe it was just that second pack was a little strange. Common Sense in limited is quite strong because most of the cards in your deck are ordinary. And therefore the Common Sense, which lets you go search through your spellbook and find any ordinary card, it can let you find what you need. So that's quite useful. Seeing Miracle Workers there is interesting to me because Miracle Workers are effectively, in my mind, I think about it as card draw. Because if you have a minion on the board that can trade with your opponent's minion, so I have a Cave Trolls and you have a Cave Trolls and I attack and we trade, I can then play my Miracle Workers and basically draw Cave Trolls into my hand. So effectively, Miracle Workers is a draw a minion with some conditions. You have to already have your minion on the board for that to be effective, but I take Maddening Bells here. It's an elite card, which isn't bad. And also the effect is okay. I don't know that I'll end up playing it, but if you can land that on your opponent or near your opponent, that can definitely have a pretty powerful effect. Sandworm is interesting. So Sandworm came all the way around to me, and I end up getting it as my 10th pick. That's a little surprising. I value Sandworm pretty highly. It does have landbound, which is a disadvantage if you're playing against water, but there aren't that many mono water decks that you end up playing. You know, it's possible. It's possible that somebody could draft mono water and then that Sandworm ends up being useless, but it can still defend. And there are often ways for it to find targets. So Highland Clansman is a high cost spell. By default in limited, you are using a 25 card spell book and a 12 card atlas. And you have the sorcerer as your default avatar. So I take exorcism here. That's not really going to matter. You end up with your sorcerer as your avatar, and so typically my strategy for limited is to get up to 5 mana or maybe 6 mana, and then from that point on in the game, you draw a spell at the start of your turn, and then you tap your sorcerer to draw a second spell. And at that point, given your mana curve, if you have around an average of 3 per spell, then you end up playing 2 spells per turn. So the Highland Clansman actually has a pretty significant cost because you're spending a whole turn drawing a site and then playing a site instead of drawing 2 spells. So Highland Clansman can be worth it, but you have to be prepared to make that investment. If you have only a single 7 cost card in your deck and you have air in your deck, then you can end up playing as your 6th mana a tower and get to 7 mana on that one turn. And then after that, you never need 7 mana. So I'm guessing that's what I'm thinking about because I don't really have any other particularly high cost minions, and I'm close to that 3 average. So given the cards that I'm thinking about playing. My last picks there were Scarecrow and Beast of Burden. Not particularly relevant. Maybe I could end up playing Beast of Burden. It's not amazing, but 2 power for 2 cost. You can, with a little upside, you can at times use it. It can also be a nice delivery method if you have something like the Scarabs on the back line, and then you move your Beast of Burden while carrying the Scarabs, and then the Scarabs can attack. Oh my gosh, what am I talking about Scarabs? Look at that Eric's Curiosa. Holy cow. I was distracted about Scarabs. Eric's Curiosa is a very, very good card. I think that is... and a foil Thunderstorm. Holy cow. That was an incredible pack. I forgot about that. I opened that pack. That was amazing. Eric's Curiosa is, I think, the second most valuable card in the whole set. So that was great. And my opponent gets a foil Thunderstorm. That's nice for them. So I don't know that Eric's Curiosa is particularly playable in this draft because I didn't actually bring my collection with me. And I don't know that I'm going to rip it up. But it's exciting to draft it. So that's fun. All right, so this pack, not as exciting. I don't see much Earth here. I do see, I see a Blink back there. I don't have a lot of mobility. I don't think I have any mobility yet. So having a single mobility card can be useful to, get to where you need to go. And I'm probably a little tempted by the Minor Explosion, but I'm wary of the double threshold. Blink only has a single threshold. And I think at this point in the draft, I'm thinking that I'm going to be 3 elements because I really love Skirmishers of Mu. And I have very strong Earth, and I have pretty good Fire too. So we'll see what I get. So this is nice. I'm pretty happy to see Bosk Troll. It is a very efficient minion. It only requires a single Earth threshold, and I get 3 power for 2. So when I have 5 mana available, I can play a 3 cost card and then the Bosk Troll, or if I'm up to 6 mana, I can play a 4 cost card with the Bosk Troll. So I'm always trying to maximize my mana usage every turn, and having a distribution of cards across all the mana thresholds or all the mana values lets me sort of maximize that. So that's why I put a reasonably high value on Bosk Troll. Also, just the single earth threshold means it's relatively easy to play it. You know, if I were a little more focused on fire, maybe I would just commit to earth fire at this point and take the minor explosion. But overpower is not bad. It can be in some ways like a minor explosion if you have minions on the board. So overpower is great as long as you have minions, but I do have miracle workers, so that's going to tend to get me more minions back. All right, this is an interesting choice. Curious to know what you would take here. The Sacred Scarabs are appealing. Also, I would consider Dead of Night Demon and Lightning Bolt, and maybe, again, Minor Explosion if I commit to fire. So I'm definitely getting some signals that fire is a bit open. The risky thing about Sacred Scarabs is that we're in limited play, so people have deserts. There are going to be plenty of deserts flying around, and that can take care of the Sacred Scarabs. So if I do end up taking the Sacred Scarabs and playing them, I have to be just wary of that and make sure that I play them in locations where the deserts cannot reach them. So I end up taking the Sacred Scarabs. Yeah, that's probably good. I mean, Lightning Bolt is also nice, but in general, I would rather minions. And Sacred Scarabs actually are effectively 4 damage. All right, wow, Mix Aqua this late. I mean, that's a relatively valuable card. Obviously, it's no Eric's Curiosa, but it's not bad. I do also see Cave Trolls there, and given that I'm in Earth, I think that I'm going to end up passing Mix Aqua. They're new players here. I'm happy for them to get to build their collection. This was, I don't remember if I mentioned, this was a 15 person draft event, and we had 2 pods. I'm in the pod of 8, and we just had, it was great. There were some experienced players, there were some newer players, and I will say draft is a little tricky to pick up as your first experience, but the players did have quite a lot of other card game playing experience, so they were able to pick it up, and we all had a great time. I think somebody who had never played before made it to the final table. So there's you can definitely pick it up, and it's fun. We were drafting a little slowly. Wow, Common Sense here. So that's relatively late. I value Common Sense pretty highly in draft because you have so many ordinary cards and you can just find what you need. Wow, a Scourge Zombies. Okay, Scourge Zombies are quite significant because they say whenever an allied mortal dies on land, you can summon Scourge Zombies from your cemetery back into play. So there are mortals all over the place. So all of the villages produce mortals. Plus we have things like miracle workers. I'm probably now, and I have border militia, which generates a whole bunch of mortals. So at this point, I like that divine healing, but I don't know that I've committed to only 2 elements. So I take the bats. That is one of the drawbacks of going 3 element. If I were only 2 element, then I probably would have taken the divine healing, which can be pretty significant. So the Azurage Caravan actually has all elements and minion types, which means it is immortal. So now that I have gotten the Scourge Zombies and I have 2 Common Sense, which can go fetch the Scourge Zombies, I am definitely looking to take mortals at a little bit higher priority, because my game plan, at least in part, can be to use Common Sense or to draw the Scourge Zombies normally, get my Scourge Zombies in play, and then just have a bunch of mortals. The Mage Slayer is immortal, but the rate is just too bad. 3 cost for only 2 power is just not worth it. So I end up taking the Wild Boars. Maybe I won't end up playing them, but at this point we see only water, and I'll take, I don't know what, I guess I took Swamp Buffalo. It doesn't really matter. I'm not playing that card, and none of those are particularly good for a water deck. I favor minions over magic in general, but I don't think... Okay, I guess I'm going to take... All right, Minor Explosion, I think, is the better choice. I don't know that I'm going to end up playing it, but it can be very useful, particularly when combined with something like a Violimp. That's 5 damage with Minor Explosion, or Minor Explosion plus Desert is 4 damage. So my last card in that pack was Blizzard, and now we are on to the final booster. Rest in Peace is my elite, and I don't think I'm going to take that. But, oh wow, but I see a Violimp. So I think Violimps are quite good for all the reasons mentioned. Just getting to... They're so inexpensive. And particularly once I get up to 5 or 6 mana and I can play Violimp plus something else, it can be very, very efficient. And, and with Miracle Workers, you can do things... You can do lots of fun tricks with Miracle Workers where if you have a Violimp in play, you can attack with your Violimp against something that has 4 power, play Miracle Workers for 2 mana, return the Violimp back from your cemetery to your hand, and then replay Violimp, taking out the 4 power minion. So there are lots of tricks like that. Violimp is good. Belmont Longbowmen, super happy to see them. Very powerful effect with ranged, 3 cost 3 power, and they're mortals. So that's going to combo with the Scourge Zombies. All right. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna pick here. I do see an Overpower. That's okay. Another Caravan. That's okay. Nothing else particularly appeals to me. The Outback Strider is nice, but I just don't know that I'm committed to. And it's mortal. But I just don't think I'm committed to going only 2 elements, and so I'm really shying away from these 2 threshold cards. Had I made a commitment to 2 elements, I definitely would have taken the Outback Strider. So I see a Bosk Troll here, which is interesting to me. I also see a Grapple Shot if I'm still thinking that I'm in 3 elements. And I think that I am thinking that because I just saw myself pass the Outback Strider. So if I'm in 3 elements, then maybe Grapple Shot is nice. If I'm only in 2 elements, then obviously don't keep taking more of the element that you're not in. But I have really many good choices, and I remember those Skirmishers because I love Skirmishers of Mu so much. They're incredibly powerful and limited because they're hard to get rid of. There's less removal in limited play than in constructed play often, and so they just can really do a lot of damage. Wow, another Scourge Zombies. Okay, so this is incredibly good for me because now I have 2 Scourge Zombies. I can get them out early in the game and then just get them back and get them back and get them back. So I'm going to be very excited about getting Mortals if I can. I see those Miracle Workers, which are exciting. And yeah, we'll see what comes around. Shout out again to Unison Games Cafe that hosted this draft event. I'm looking forward to playing some beta with them once beta comes out pretty soon. And all right, so what are we doing with this pack? I see another Minor Explosion and I see an Overpower. Those are the top things that jump out to me. I think that Overpower, I mean, I already have 2 of them. I don't know exactly how clear that is in my mind at the time that I'm making this pick, but I already have 1 Minor Explosion. I just keep thinking Skirmishers of Mu, Skirmishers of Mu. So I want to stay in all 3 elements, and so that's causing me to avoid the Minor Explosions and the Outback Striders and things like that. Wow, look at this pack. So this is fairly late in pack 3, and I see at least 4 cards. Common Sense, Longbowmen, Cave Trolls, and Berry. Those are all 3 excellent Earth cards, and I'm a little shocked that those were not taken. It may be the case that people were still a little new to drafting, but those 4 are all good. I think that I'm going to end up comparing the Longbowmen to the Trolls, I'll definitely take the Longbowmen over Trolls because they're mortals and I like ranged better than burrowing. Common Sense is certainly something to consider, but I already have 2, I think. And Bury is a great removal card, but in general, I would like minions over magic in general. Not, I mean, it's hard to get the right balance, but I think, yeah, so I think I take the Longbowmen here. Common Sense does let me get my Scourge Zombies out faster, but I like the Longbowmen. I mean, 3 ranged is nothing to scoff at. It can do a great job defending your territory, and yeah, it's just good. 3 power mortal. I think I really want that. What would you pick here? Given what I have, would you have picked the Longbowmen? I remember picking them now, but I don't know. Bury, it's interesting. I think I agree with my past self. I like the Longbowmen pick, but all right, let's see if anything exciting is coming. So I have 2 nice choices of mortals here. The Men of Lang is interesting with Grapple Shot. I do have a Grapple Shot, but I think I'm leaning towards mortals. The Apprentice Wizard obviously is a mortal, and Midnight Rogue is mortal also. So if I'm still thinking that I'm in 3 elements, which I believe I am, at least that's what I'm thinking at the time, then I would choose Midnight Rogue or Apprentice Wizard over Heat Ray. Obviously, if I'm not in air, then it would be better to take the Heat Ray, which is a card I could consider playing, but... Okay, we're getting down to the dregs here. I take Rest in Peace. This is just because I have Scourge Zombies. I don't want anybody else playing Rest in Peace against me. I don't know that anyone... I don't think I've ever seen that card played, even in Draft or in Limited. If you've ever played Rest in Peace and it was effective, then post in the comments. I will be excited to hear about that. I can imagine maybe in an Enchantress deck. I could imagine it in a best of 3 format with a sideboard, but in general, in Constructed, but in general, I don't imagine playing Rest in Peace very often. But thematically, very strong theme to that card, which is nice. Not every card is going to be the highest power level, but hopefully every card will be thematic. And that one certainly is. I'm going to just look at this pack. All right, so I have the Cyclops. They're okay. I'm a little worried about them just hitting the board and then getting attacked a bunch. And it's just a little late game. And I kind of might want to be happy sticking around 5 mana. I don't even know if I'm going to end up going up to 6 mana. I don't really need another overpower, a 4th overpower. I don't imagine playing that. But maybe I'm going to have a bunch of little foot soldiers. And I mean, I have Border Militia. I can play a lot of villages, and maybe the overpower is okay. I'm assuming I'm taking the Caravan because even though 5 mana for 4 cost isn't great, they are mortals and they will bring back my Scourge Zombies. And I have 2 Scourge Zombies, so I'm pretty happy with that. The thing that I wanted to acknowledge was that these booster boxes, these alpha booster boxes, were left over from Gen Con. So I just want to say thank you to Eric, who let me bring them to Unison Games Cafe and play this alpha draft. So it was a lot of fun, and it's just a great way to see all the cards, build your collection, have a lot of fun, and play. I mean, the play of, you know, Limited and in Draft is just, I mean, it's fun. It's really, you can build some great decks. And looking at the cards I have, I mean, this is going to be an interesting deck building experience. We'll post in the comments a link to the deck that I built and to the full card pool. So that'll be interesting to see. Last pick was Dead of Night Demon, and now here I'm deciding between Miracle Workers and Mortality. These are 2 pretty good cards this late. I mean, Miracle Workers, again, I think I'm going to take Miracle Workers because they're mortal. They're mortals, so they're going to trigger the Scourge Zombies, and it's a card draw. So I'm pretty happy with that. You can do lots of tricks with the cards that I have. A couple of Violymps and just good card draw. I guess it's a mystery what that last card is, but I think this draft pool is quite strong for me. And double Scourge Zombies, 2 Violymps, 2 Common Sense, quite a lot of mortals. This is going to be a lot of fun to build. So thanks again to Unison Games Cafe, and thanks to everybody who participated in the draft. It was a great event, a lot of fun, a lot of new players, some experienced players. So, and thank you to Chase, who recorded all of that footage and put it all together. We had a great time. So I look forward to more games with everyone. Have fun contesting the realm.